Imagine a weapon so insidious, so utterly terrifying, that it could extinguish life in minutes. This is not science fiction, but the chilling reality of sarin gas. Discovered in 1938 by German chemist Gerhard Schrader, sarin was initially intended as a pesticide. Little did the world know this seemingly innocuous discovery would soon reveal its true and horrifying nature. Sarin is a nerve agent. It doesn't explode, it doesn't burn. It silently chokes the human body from the inside out. Imagine the terror of gasping for breath, your lungs paralyzed, your muscles convulsing uncontrollably. This is the gruesome fate of those exposed to sarin gas. Exposure to even minuscule amounts can be fatal. Victims experience a horrifying array of symptoms: blurred vision, vomiting, respiratory failure, and ultimately death. The very air we breathe, the essence of life itself, transformed into a weapon of silent, agonizing death. This is sarin, the silent killer. The world held its breath as Hitler's war machine rolled across Europe, but the feared chemical onslaught never came. Why? Why did Hitler, a man who orchestrated the systematic extermination of millions, hold back this horrific weapon? The answer, like the man himself, is shrouded in a chillingly pragmatic logic. Some argue that Hitler, a veteran of the trenches in World War I, harbored a deep-seated aversion to chemical warfare. Gas attacks on the Western Front left an indelible mark on his psyche, a visceral understanding of the indiscriminate horror these weapons unleashed. Others believe that Hitler feared retaliation in kind. The Allies too possessed stockpiles of chemical weapons, a chilling deterrent that hung heavy in the air. Perhaps it was a strategic calculation. Hitler, ever the opportunist, may have held sarin in reserve, a terrifying ace up his sleeve to be played in a moment of desperation. Whatever the reason, the world was spared the full brunt of sarin's horror. But what if he did decide to unleash sarin gas? Let's find out. June 6th, 1944, D-Day. The fate of the free world hung in the balance as Allied forces stormed the beaches of Normandy. Now imagine a different D-Day. A day where the salty air carries not just the smell of gunpowder, but the silent, deadly kiss of sarin. Picture this. The first wave of landing craft approaches the beaches, only to be met not by German bullets, but by an invisible, odorless terror. Confusion reigns as soldiers collapse, gasping for air, their bodies racked with convulsions. The beaches littered with bodies transformed into a macabre graveyard, shrouded in a sinister silence. The Allied advance, already fraught with danger, grinds to a halt. The sheer terror of an invisible enemy, the agonizing deaths, cripple the morale of even the bravest soldiers. The liberation of Europe, the turning point of World War II, hangs precariously in the balance. The V-2 rocket, a marvel of German engineering, instilled fear in the hearts of Allied citizens. Now imagine, instead of conventional explosives, these rockets carry payloads of sarin, transforming technological marvels into harbingers of chemical apocalypse. Picture London, already scarred by the Blitz, now facing a new terror from the sky. As air raid sirens wail, V-2s streak across the sky, their deadly cargo raining down on unsuspecting civilians. The city descends into chaos as the invisible gas seeps through the streets, turning bomb shelters into tombs. The psychological impact would be catastrophic. The randomness, the invisibility of the threat would erode morale and sow seeds of panic among Allied populations. The very fabric of society, already strained by years of war, could unravel under the strain of this new and terrifying threat. Section 5, the Eastern Front, ablaze chemical warfare in the East. The Eastern Front of World War II, a theater of unimaginable brutality where life held little value. Now picture this already horrific landscape transformed into a toxic hellscape, where sarin gas becomes just another weapon in the fight for survival. Imagine the vast plains of Eastern Europe shrouded in a sinister haze as both sides unleash chemical weapons. Soldiers, already pushed to the limits of human endurance, now face a new enemy, an invisible killer that respects no lines, no ideologies. The already staggering death toll on the Eastern Front would skyrocket. Cities and villages would become uninhabitable, transformed into macabre monuments to the folly of chemical warfare. The very earth itself would be poisoned, a stark reminder of the horrors unleashed. The use of sarin gas by the Axis powers would have been a game-changer. The world would watch in horror as the lines between conventional warfare and chemical atrocities blurred, the Allied and Soviet response swift and merciless. The use of sarin would have galvanized the Allied powers. The horrors inflicted upon their soldiers and civilians would have been met with a furious resolve. Retaliation in kind would have been all but guaranteed. The skies over Germany would be filled with Allied bombers, their payloads laden with chemical weapons. Industrial centers, military installations, and even civilian populations would be targeted. The line between retribution and vengeance would blur in a haze of poison gas. April 1945. The Red Army is closing in on Berlin. Smoke rises over the city as the final battles rage on. Hitler is cornered, his empire is crumbling. In a final act of desperation, he gives the order, release sarin gas across the city. Cut to gas canisters rolling into the streets, civilians and soldiers alike choking. Thousands perish instantly. Soviet troops, unprepared for chemical warfare, suffer horrific casualties. The streets of Berlin would become a nightmare, a scene of chaos and agony. The unprepared Soviet troops would suffer devastating losses, their advance halted by an invisible enemy. Cut to Stalin receiving intelligence reports, his face darkening with rage and determination. Stalin, upon receiving reports of the chemical carnage, would face a grave decision: retaliate with their own chemical stockpiles, or risk further escalation. The heart of Berlin, a city already in ruins, could have become a wasteland, too toxic for any victor to claim. Fade to black, eerie silence. A world where sarin was used in Berlin could have rewritten history entirely. Would Hitler's last gambit have changed the course of the war, or simply delayed the inevitable? Section 7, A World Remade. The potential ramifications of chemical warfare. The use of sarin gas in World War II would have been a Pandora's box, unleashing consequences far beyond the immediate carnage. The world, forever scarred by the horrors unleashed, would never be the same. The war, already a global conflagration, could have escalated into a chemical free-for-all. The use of increasingly deadly chemical weapons would become a horrifying arms race, with civilian populations caught in the crossfire. The environmental impact would have been catastrophic. Vast swaths of land would be rendered uninhabitable, poisoned by chemical agents. The long-term health consequences, from birth defects to cancer, would plague generations to come. Section 8, Never Again. A stark reminder and a plea for peace. The hypothetical use of sarin gas in World War II serves as a stark reminder of the horrors that lurk within humanity's grasp. It is a chilling testament to our capacity for destruction, a cautionary tale etched in the annals of history. Though the spectre of chemical warfare continues to haunt us, we must strive to ensure that such horrors remain confined to the pages of history books. The lessons of the past, however painful, must guide us towards a future where dialogue, diplomacy, and empathy triumph over violence and destruction. The world has seen enough of war, enough of its horrors. Let us learn from the past and work tirelessly to build a future where chemical weapons, like the nightmare of World War II itself, are relegated to the dustbin of history. The future of humanity depends on it.